there, Sandra here from Createinspain. I recently posted a very brief video showing you the Lazy Susan that I've made, and this is it, unloaded. However, this was a prototype and I've learned from my mistakes because I didn't actually plan it, I was just playing around and it progressed. So I've now devised a file for it, which means if you have a cutting machine, you can actually cut it out yourself. And I have sort of tidied up the general idea. So the base of my Lazy Susan there was actually these, which are small cake boards. They're just polystyrene foam. And I would have used exactly the same, except for the fact that I didn't have enough of them left, which was a little more of a problem. So what I did is I looked in my stash in the kitchen and I found that I have some of these cake boards which I can use in place of. A bit bigger, but I'm not going to cut them down. So this is what I'm going to be using for the top part. And this time the bottom part is going to be smaller than the top part, not the same size. Doesn't make any great difference. This, by the time it is glued together, had backing put on it, is going to be pretty tough anyway. And I'm not going to be putting really heavy things on it. This is designed for the craft room, not for using, in the kitchen or something. So, starting off, what I need to do is to mark out the centre of these things. Now, I've done the cut file. What I did with this is I allowed a 1.2 centimetre circle in there for the centre spindle. And I just need a pen to mark that. I'm going to mark the circles on, or the centres I should say, on all my pieces. One of the main problems I have with the one that I made was that it wasn't quite centred because I already had holes punched in for whatever reason to the polystyrene, but it wasn't quite centred. So if you cut this on a cutting machine and you centred the hole, it will be in the centre, which is always a good idea if you're looking at rotating items. So this being my top piece, I'm actually going to put a piece of card on the bottom of it as well. And so just put that down like that. And I'm going to do that. Actually, thinking about it, I'm going to turn these around because I was going to use two. But I'm going to turn them around so that the white bit is inside because things stick better. If I want to cover them, they stick better to the other side, so just do that again. Make sure it's well lined up. And just draw in the centre hole, like so. That one's already got a hole on there, and I'll put it on that side as well. So that will constitute my top layer. And I could actually stick that together now if I want to. No reason why I shouldn't particularly, but I haven't got my glue gun heated up yet. So this is going to be the base. So again with this, I really need to mark the centre. So I've cut out my matching sized piece. And I'm going to put centre over here. There we are. And I'm going to do it on this one as well. Like so. Now, one of these is fairly straightforward. It can have the base put on it. You don't have to put a base on here. I just chose to put a base on the bottom of it. It's just a matter of preference. You don't have to, but I just think it makes it look a little tidier. Now the second piece here is not going to be a solid piece. I need to actually cut a ring from it. And this is the ring that I need to cut. So I cut this on my machine, and if I put that one there, center it up, and centered this one up as well, I just need to draw around it because it would be nicely centered, correct size, and will be done much better than the original was. There we are, that's that ring. Now if I take this one away, I can draw the inner ring. If you need to, shove a couple of pins or drawing pins or something in the card to keep it in place. You definitely want to make sure it doesn't shift. So if you're not able to hold it down too easily, just make sure you pin it. There we go. So what is actually going to happen is, for some reason that is slightly off. Oh well, this particular bit doesn't make too much difference. As long as the centre's matched up, we're okay. What's going to happen is this ring here is going to be taken out. So we'll be using the outer ring, we'll be using this smaller ring, but this bit is wastage. Always a good idea to mark it so that you know which bit you're cutting away and which bit you're not. Now the reason for that is because this is where my bearings are going to travel, or in my particular case, my marbles. Now I have here some marbles, the same type as I put in the other one I did, and they are supposed to be 16mm marbles. I made this channel 2 centimeters, so there's a 4mm difference, and the reason for that is because if these have too much space to roll around, it's fine within a certain degree. If they don't roll because it's too tight, you're stuffed. It's not going to work. So that's why that is the measurement it is. So this one here is going to be my base piece, and this one is going to be the rim. Now there are a couple of different ways of cutting things out, but one thing which you can do which makes it so much easier is to have one of these things. Now this is a woodworking heat tool, but as it happens it cuts polystyrene really easily, and it will make the job a lot easier for you than using a knife. If you happen to have one. If you don't, well, you don't, and that's it. But if you do, it does make life easier. So when that's heated up, I'm going to cut out the center of here. I will cut out this center, and I will cut out this ring, and then I will glue the ring onto the base with a hot glue. So let's see if this is hot enough yet. Fluff on there. Oh yeah. Just like magic. I will open my window though, just in case of any fumes. Now for my spindle on this one, I've got a bubble tea straw, or a chunky milkshake straw, whatever you like to think of it as. And that's why I sized it to be that size when I drew the hole, because it's 1.2 and this is pretty much 1.2, and I will be able to glue that in there, and that will be my center spindle. Go on the inside of the line, and you can actually just rotate the foam, polystyrene foam, or you can move the tool depending on which way you like to do it. quite handy if you can actually see the line that you're cutting, of course. So that's my outer ring that I need, and I'm going to go on the outside of this inner line because it sort of shrinks away as you do it. So if you start off a little more on the outside than you think to, you can always take a little bit more out. Not so easy to put it back if you've gone too far, but it's so easy to do. It cuts like butter, basically. Soft butter at that. Okay. So this is my waist, and these are the pieces that I actually want to keep, like that. So here's my base. I'm going to put that rim on there and I'm going to put this in the centre, and because I've got the holes matched up, it shouldn't be a problem. It's going to be pretty much where it should be. I think that is glued all the way around. Yep, looks that way. So this one will go on the top there. So theoretically I should be able to put a load of marbles on here. Now the thing is, I have found that marbles are not always precisely the same size. So having this a little bit too big is much better than having it a little bit too small. There you go, you can see they will move quite happily in there, so that's fine. I can take them out for a moment. Now I want to put the base on here. So this is this owl one. I chose it, to be honest, because it's not really that useful a print, and I find if you've got cards that are not overly useful, making three-dimensional type projects like this is a really good way of using them up. There we go, all stuck down. And then my straw will be able to go in the centre. Now with these straws, they have a pointed end. Obviously you don't want that end going down in there. You want to put the flat end in and hot glue in this hole to keep it there so that it's not going to come out. Now this isn't the sort of thing that you would be picking up by the centre. Okay, that's not the idea. This is just to give it a spindle. You wouldn't want to pick it up by this because there's quite a big chance that it won't be strong enough, particularly if you've got items on it. Just hold it by the base when you pick it up. It's no great problem. If I'd have been sensible, I would probably have done it on my silver bullet, but I wasn't that sensible. So I need a sharp round tool to poke a hole in the centre, and then I'll just make it bigger. Now you can see on this, because they're corrugated card, they have ridges through, and I'm going to make sure that the ridges run this way on that one and that way on that one to give it added strength. So I just need to put a whole load of glue. I'm having quite a difficult time getting enough glue out there. Okay, let's move that over. That's one side on. Now for the edge, you have a choice. You can leave it flat. Now, This isn't overly strong just on the edges, so I would hesitate to do that. If you're using the foam all the way through, it's better from that point of view. But I would put a decorative band around here. Now, since this is the top piece, I would actually extend it. So I would probably put a piece about 2.5 centimeters on this edge. And you use hot glue around the edge and you just glue it on, just turning as you go. You can do it in multiple strips in most cases, unless you have some very large card, you're going to have to. Okay, I've changed my glue gun over, so hopefully that will make life a little easier. And I've cut some 2 centimeter strips to do the base. Now, as it happens, this is a pink glitter glue. And as you can see, it comes out rather rapidly. And put the rest of the glue. There we go, that's the base done. So I've got my edge on the upper tray, and I've also lined it on the inside simply because I've wanted a little bit more strength on it. So this is actually pretty sturdy now. So fingers crossed that this is actually going to slot on to my straw. And that will rotate quite happily. Now you might be saying, well, you know, what's the straw in the middle? Well, if you want to, you could make this into a handle in the same way that I did with this one. I put some wire through the entire lot, spread it out on the underside, blanked it off with a piece of card, and then put the base on. That's what I did with that one. I'm not really intending to use the handle. I just want it to be a rotating item on my shelf. So my intention is to just cut this down. Now, what you could do is cut it down and just use it as a pen or pencil storage. Because if you cut it down to like that, you can stick a pencil in, or a pen, or whatever, you know, if you want to. You could cut it off so that it is flat with there. You could use it to keep a paper cup or a polystyrene cup or a plastic cup in the center so that you could put pens and pencils and what have you in it. Choice is yours. If you want to keep it higher, you could actually fold up some card dividers to create sections in here as well. Personally, I don't actually want to have any sections in this. I just want it to spin, which it does quite nicely. And I've got plenty of room in there to put all sorts of things that I might need for a particular crafting project. The beauty is that even if it's on my shelf, I can get to the bits which were at the back of the shelf just by turning around. So there we go, that's how I made my Lazy Susan. So that's it, hope you enjoyed that. I'll see you again soon.